born in Chicago and became interested in guitar, playing guitar, when I was about 10. So I played guitar in high school with bands, and I got pretty good at playing guitar, so I applied to university for music school, and they accepted me. So I went to music school, and for the first 2 years in music school, you study general music. And then after second year, you have to decide on a specific course. So when I was doing this, the only choices were jazz and classical, and also music teaching. And for me, I didn't want to be a teacher, and I like jazz, but not so much. And I like classical also, but not really to study and play it. So I was a little confused what to do. And at this moment, they decided they're going to start a new program for recording. Okay. And I said, this is maybe good for me, because if I want to play rock music and pop music, then you have to be in the studio, and it's good to know things that are going on in the studio. So I start to this program, and I'm taking classes. And then they asked me, hey, if you want, you can do the sound for the live concerts for the school and for the faculty at the school. I said, okay. So I start doing this, and I learn more about it. And then someone asked me, hey, you're doing sound for this. Maybe I have a friend who has a company to do concerts, live sound. Maybe you want to do this work. So I go and work for him, and I got very good at mixing for live sound. And this is how I learned how to do it. And then also, I was working at a recording studio in Chicago, which is now closed. It was very big, Universal Recording, and just general working at the front desk and helping however they needed help, packing things up, shipping tapes to people, and cataloging, and learning the process about studio. And I think in the end, it was very good. At the time, I wasn't so happy about the job. I wanted to be in the room to make the music. But in the end, I think learning all the processes of what it takes from the top to the bottom, I think was very, very helpful. So from there, I was doing live sound and working at the studio at the same time. And then I did sound for one band, and they were working a lot and touring a lot, and they asked me, hey, do you want to come on tour with us? And I said, yeah, sure. So for 2 years I was on tour doing live sound every day in different places. We would play concerts, festival for 10,000 people, and the next day we play in a room not much bigger than this with small 4 channels of, and I have to improvise and make things work and find problems and fix them. So this was good for learning how to troubleshoot and fix things very quickly. Okay. And after I got done with a tour, I said, this is not in the studio where I want to be, and I'm not playing music. Maybe I should think about something else. So I had a friend who lived in New York, and he said, anytime you want to come, you stay with me and get situated, and then you can, live and work in New York. So I moved to New York and had nothing, and I was sleeping on his couch, and I went, hello, my name is Jim, I need to work. So, and this is what happened. Okay. And then I started working in New York.
Okay, thanks.
Difficult to say. For me, I never feel like I want to have a sound. I want to listen to what the musicians, the artists are trying to do, and to help them to do this better. So whatever that is, I've done many different types of records, hip hop and rap, R&B records. I've done some indie rock things, and most recently the Ojos de Brujo, Techarí album. Okay. And all these projects are so different. So for me, I think it's impossible. How can you have a sound, because you're working on hip hop with all MIDI, electronic music, and then you're shifting to something like indie rock band, which is trying to be maybe a little bit heavier, and they're using some programming MIDI, but also some guitars and maybe some other sound noises and effects. And then we have Ojos de Brujo, which is a mixture of mostly live instruments. There's a few electronic keyboard things and some scratching from Panko, but other than this, I don't know. But people tell me when they hear different projects that they can tell that there's something, they know right away, this is me. So I guess I do, but I don't know what it is. I cannot define it for you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, what we do is art. What I do is art. People sometimes, it's very interesting because sometimes when I first begin to work on a project, they say, oh, you're just a technician, you press the knobs, you put the wires here and there, and you make the sound. I don't believe that this is true. I consider myself an artist as much equal to the artists that I work with. And with this, we have to have respect for each other. So, like I said earlier, with different projects, you have different ways of interacting with people. And for me, when I'm mixing, I try again to look at everything, and I try to see what was I given, and how can I use this as a foundation, and how do like if you're making a house, okay, you have the shape, or maybe you buy a house is already made. This is sort of what happens for me. They give me an empty house, and then I have to decorate. But I have to be very careful how I decorate, because I have to decorate what I like, but also what they like. And so I need to be sensitive to this, and I think it's sensitivity. You just have to be very careful to not try to push your way on someone else. Not to be afraid to ask, but to be sensitive enough to say, okay, I want to try this. What do you think? Oh, you let me try this? Okay, and we see what happens.
Asa, mira.
We use everything.
Everything?
And when I was learning to engineer, I have to explain to you. Pro Tools, for many people, is very new. For me, I've been using Pro Tools since before it was Pro Tools with Sound Designer. Okay. And for me, all these things are all wonderful tools. But for me, some people will say, oh, it has to be a Neve, or it has to be SSL, or it has to be Pro Tools. For me, it's just a tool. If you have SSL, I can use it. I can use it very well, and I can find way to make it help to do what we're doing. Or Neve, or Pro Tools. But sometimes these are not the right tools. You have to be careful when you're choosing. For Techarí, we ended up using not everything in the room, but mostly we touched a little bit here and there. And for me, I was trying to be careful. Okay, we have the Neve, yeah, we can run all the channels through the Neve, get a nice sound, yeah? Okay, but is it the right sound? Is it the correct sound for what we're trying to do? So we end up using the Neve a little bit, and the SSL a little bit, and Pro Tools a little bit. So each one I try to find what is the best to do. For me, when I listen to music, because I went to music school, I think maybe I think about things differently than people who are only technicians. For me, the music comes from what you're playing and the choices that the artist makes when they're making the music. And this becomes sometimes difficult because people want to explore something new, and they're now, especially I think, because they're mixing instruments in different ways that were never mixed before. Symphony orchestra, for instance, took hundreds of years to develop the orchestra as we know it, because the people were trying different groups of instruments together to see what works. And now we have exploration of, let's try this guitar with this drum from Africa, and let's try this DJ with this something else, I don't know. And for me, trying to find out how you can help the artist to put this all together and to make it into something new, but that still works. It comes from the arrangement of the music and what instruments fit together. And sometimes they need some help. So this is, I think, what I try to do. I try to find the tools in the room that I can use to help to make things fit. Sometimes they fit with no problem, and sometimes you have to find compression or EQ to help them to work together. So it becomes also with recording, because of the history of recording, and now with rap and hip hop, with rap and hip hop is interesting because the song is never arranged until the very end. You have 8 tracks or 16 tracks or 50 tracks of music always playing all the time. And you make the arrangement after you record all the vocals by turning things on and off to make the song, to give it dynamic, to start soft and build it up and take it down and build it up. Traditionally with music and musicians, we do this by practicing and writing and making the arrangement to do this. So I use a combination of both. If something was recorded, maybe it was a good idea, and maybe is still a good idea, but maybe is not the right moment in this song, you can always turn it off. And we see what happens, and see maybe it makes the song better, makes more space for something else to breathe, yeah? And like this, you know. Well, again, it's tools. There are many good microphones, many good mic pre's and compressors. So for recording vocals, I think you have to be careful about choosing the tool. Just because you have the most expensive microphone or most expensive mic pre or compressor doesn't mean it's going to be the right one for what you're doing. And this gets tricky because you don't always have the time to say, well, let's try this one. And you have the singer go and sing and say, no, that's not right. Okay, give me 15 minutes and we change it. Okay, come back. No, that's not right. You keep doing this and the artists, they start to lose the interest. They're excited. They want to come to the studio. Boom, let's go. We want to make sound. We want to hear something on the tape. We don't want to play around with this and this. So you have to be careful because you want to choose the best one, but you don't always have the time to choose the best one. So this is where experience comes in, and also experimenting when you're not in the studio or not with the clock going, yeah. And you get to maybe do some work with some friends and try things out and see. I like Neumann microphones a lot. I think the new ones are very good. The old ones can be very good, but they're very difficult because they're not consistent. So maybe in this studio they have a very good one, and in this studio it hasn't been maintained as well. And you know, if you have a lot of money, you can make your own collection of microphones, and then you know that it's always good. But
okay, but for recording vocals, do you use Millennia or Neve preamps? Depends on...
Depends also. Depends on what the studio has. I have a few mic pre's myself. Nothing really esoteric. AMEC 9098. I like it for some things. For other things, not so much. The George Massenburg mic pre's I like a lot. But also, they don't have a color. If you're looking for something maybe to change the sound a little bit, but not in a bad way, Neve or API. The Millennia I like a lot. They seem to have their own color. It has a, I don't know how to say, it's like a classic sound, but not like a classic sound from Neve or API or something else. On Techarí album, we use, for the lead vocal, I used LA2A and what else? And I think some plugins also. Some tricks I've learned along the way. I can't give you all my secrets, but you use 2 compressors, one after another, and they can do different things for the sound. So I don't know if it's better than only one compressor, but in some instances it can help to control what's going on, so that you can with the compression is very tricky because it can if you do too much, you can lose the sound in the mix, and if you do too little, you have to do a lot of work with the fader to keep things in the right place. And this is not bad. It depends on how much time you have, and sometimes with the no compression, maybe it's a better thing to just ride the vocal on the fader, and you find the right spot so that you always hear the vocal. Always, because people don't like to believe this, but I think always it's the most important thing in the mix. And compression can help you sometimes to make the sound pop out more, so that it always, even though it's not louder, but it seems more loud. You understand me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Usa compás,